Guess what? Texas sues Pfizer for allegedly misrepresenting its COVID-19 vaccine's efficacy. I was told you can't sue these guys over this stuff. So let that be let that be a lesson to you. Even if they tell you can't use the legal system for your grievances against corporations, have at it anyway. Have at it, because they're doing it right there. So remember when they lied? Remember all the lies they told us? Remember these lies?
Everyone who takes the vaccine is not just protecting themselves, but reducing their transmission to other people and allowing society to get back to normal.
We can kind of almost see the end. We're vaccinating so very fast. Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick.
Getting vaccinated and getting a booster shot when eligible can save your life and protect you and your family and friends from getting seriously ill and spreading infection.
What do you think the probability is? 80%?
Personally, I think it's 100%. I think that there's a reduction in transmission.
Right. Essentially, vaccines block you from getting and giving the virus.
If enough people get vaccinated, it actually halts transmission.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
We have all the vaccines we need. We just need our people to take it. A, for their own protection, for the protection of their family, but also to break the chain of transmission. You want to be a dead end to the virus. So when the virus gets to you, you stop it. You don't allow it to use you as the stepping stone to the next person.
Now we know that the vaccines work well enough that the virus stops with every vaccinated person. A vaccinated person gets exposed to the virus. The virus does not infect them. The virus cannot then use that person to go anywhere else.
I gave it to two girlfriends. And I was
cannot use a vaccinated person as a host to go get more people. That means the vaccines will get us to the end of this.
So that was a lie then, and it was always a lie. And if they ever went after all the people who lied about this, it would make Nuremberg look like Judge Judy. So, and how do I know it was a lie? Because this guy asked a senior executive at Pfizer, hey, did you ever test to see if your vaccine stopped transmission or contraction? And here was the answer.
Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? If not, please say it clearly. If yes, are you willing to share the data with this committee? And I really want a straight answer, yes or no, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping immunization before it's entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what it...
You weren't moving at the speed of science. You were moving at the speed of silence. And you silenced anybody who questioned you or asked you a question. And that's why Bola, the head of Pfizer, wouldn't show up, because he knew he was going to be asked that question. So he sent this sacrificial lamb out to have to answer that, and she giggles through it. Let me just tell you, a lawsuit would be should be the least of your problems right now. So right now, go ahead. You want to say something?
But no, we watch Rachel Maddow, same as you. We go off what Rachel says.
So now the Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on November 30th filed a lawsuit against Pfizer alleging that the drug maker misrepresented the efficacy of its COVID-19 vaccine. Pfizer misrepresented the results of the clinical trial run on its COVID-19 vaccine, according to the suit, which was filed in Lubbock County, Texas. We are pursuing justice for people of Texas, many of whom were coerced by tyrannical vaccine mandates to take a defective product sold by lies, Mr. Paxton, a Republican, said in a statement. The facts are clear. Pfizer did not tell the truth about their COVID-19 vaccines. Now, according to the FDA and the CDC, the vaccine is super safe and effective, and it won't stop the transmission or the contraction, but it will slow it, and it'll keep you from getting seriously ill or hospitalized or dead. That's what the CDC and the FDA says, but that's not what this guy's saying. So obviously this guy's wrong, but let's go on with the story. Pfizer and its partner BioNTech touted their vaccine as 95% effective against COVID-19 infection in company statements based on the trial. Now, that's hard to believe that they said that, because we know that everybody got COVID-19 vaccine also got COVID pretty much. Isn't that weird? So this 95% effective against infection, I think that must be a misprint, because Pfizer wouldn't lie. The trial sought to determine how many participants contracted COVID-19 with symptoms after receiving the vaccine, not COVID-19 overall. So tens of millions of Americans subsequently received the vaccine. The efficacy estimate was a relative risk reduction for vaccinated individuals when compared to unvaccinated participants. Relative risk.
What?
So of vaccinated participants who had no evidence of prior infection, 0.04% tested positive for COVID-19. Of the unvaccinated participants without prior infection, 0.9% had a COVID-19 case.
Are you kidding me?
This is the difference. So that meant there was a 95% relative risk.
I guess that's why pulling out 95% works.
So they were talking about relative risk. And that was the difference. 0.04, 0.9%. That was the difference.
Stop it, gold.
So again, this is according to this article. This is according to the Attorney General in Texas. The FDA and the CDC still say it's fantastic, and that's not real. Absolute risk reduction, another way of measuring, is determined by subtracting the post-treatment risk of 0.04% from the baseline risk of 0.9%, which reaches a different efficacy estimate. Pfizer misrepresented the efficacy by promoting the relative risk reduction number and relying on just 2 months of clinical trial data. This is according to this lawsuit. Of the 17,000 placebo recipients, only 162 acquired COVID-19 during this 2-month period. No shit. Based on those numbers, vaccination status had a negligible impact on whether a trial participant contracted COVID-19. The risk of requiring COVID-19 was so small in the first instance during this short window that Pfizer's vaccine only fractionally improved a person's risk of infection. And a vaccine recipient's absolute risk reduction, the Federal Food and Drug Administration's preferred efficacy metric, showed that the vaccine was merely 0.85% effective. The FDA has stated in guidance documents that relative risk estimates made reduction seem large and that treatments are viewed more favorably than when the same information is presented using an absolute risk format.
They admit this. This is the FDA themselves.
It sounds like the FDA is admitting it according to this article, but again, vaccines are super safe and effective. The agency says drug manufacturers should provide absolute risks in addition to relative risks. Who says this? The agency. The FDA says this? The FDA even says
next time. We'll get it next time, guys.
So Pfizer also misled the public by excluding COVID-19 cases in the vaccinated if they happened before 7 days had elapsed following a second dose. That's according to Mr. Paxton. Pfizer, who was also aware of the lack of evidence that its vaccine protected against transmission, but repeatedly made statements and ran advertisements touting it as a way to protect people and their loved ones, according to the suit. Well, I just showed you all those people saying it.
Why do you need to advertise this if the president's going to say it to you?
And I showed you the woman from the Pfizer executive in the European Parliament saying they never even tested to see if it stopped transmission. The FDA, for instance, repeatedly stated that there wasn't enough evidence to say the vaccine shielded against transmission.
So they covered their ass.
Additional evaluations will be needed to assess the effect of the vaccine in preventing virus shedding and transmission, the FDA said in one document. Federal laws such as the Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act bar misbranding products regulated by the FDA. Misbranding occurs if advertising or labeling for the product is misleading, including when advertising fails to reveal facts material in the light of representations. A Texas law prohibits deceptive. So they're saying that by them only giving you the relative risk and excluding the absolute risk, that breaks this law, that was actually misleading.
So it's not suing the drug for any kind of harm. It's suing for misleading advertising.
It's suing for misleading advertising.
That's
not that the vaccine was causing harm, but that their advertising was misleading. Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla also made misleading statements that suit alleges, such as claiming after the trial results were released that the vaccine would help bring an end to the pandemic. No, I know that Andy Slavitt, who was Joe Biden's czar, or he was the head of the COVID response, said in May or June of 2021 that no matter what, everybody's most likely to get COVID anyway. No matter how many people got vaccinated, he said everybody. That was Joe Biden's. He said that in a tweet. That didn't get reported in the news. Didn't get reported in the newspaper. He said that in a tweet. I reported it at my show that he said no matter how many people, no matter what happens or who gets vaccinated, everybody's likely to get COVID anyway, which everyone likely did. He also claimed in February 2020, but this guy was saying that it would help end the pandemic, just like Rachel Maddow said. And according to this lawsuit, that is misleading. According to your own eyes and ears, maybe it's misleading too, but I can't make that judgment. That'd be up to the FDA, the CDC, and a court now.
We're going to trust your ear holes and eye holes or experts.
He also claimed in February 2021 that the protection from the vaccines was robust after 6 months, despite trial data not being collected yet after 6 months. Pfizer's misleading statements created the false impression that 95% of vaccine recipients would never obtain COVID-19. Full stop. That's what the suit says. Later in 2021, data from the drug maker Israel and elsewhere showed that the vaccine protection began to wane within months, leading to the clearance and promotion of boosters and ultimately new formulations. The suit also accuses Pfizer of working to censor people who question the company's narrative about the vaccine, including journalist Alex Berenson, who repeatedly pointed out facts about the waning vaccine efficacy. It points in part to Dr. Scott Gottlieb, a Pfizer board member and former FDA commissioner, who urged Twitter to take action against Mr. Berenson. That's the speed of silence. Mr. Berenson was banned from Twitter, but reinstated after suing the company. He has since sued Dr. Gottlieb and others for alleged violations of federal law. Holy effing F. Again, I need to say that the FDA and the CDC recommends everybody get their booster if you need it, and even if you don't, get your booster because it's safe and effective and it'll keep you from becoming seriously ill, hospitalized,
I'm on number 9.
or death. Kurt's on his 9th booster.
Jackson, I've had COVID probably 50 times, but you know what? I'm not clogging up the hospital.
That's right. Hospital beds, baby. Jackson, what do you have to say about this?
I just think it's so interesting. I didn't see this news about Ken Paxton suing Pfizer till just now. But you know what's crazy? Ken Paxton, I believe he's the guy that's suing big tech as well on behalf of the state of Texas. And he just went through a massive impeachment scandal. The entire Texas state
They tried to impeach this guy, and now you know why, right?
Yeah. All the establishment Republicans, all the, the few Democrats in Texas, they all tried to impeach him. There was this huge scandal, and he was acquitted. But now you know why they're trying to get rid of him.
So whenever they get rid of Tucker Carlson, it wasn't because he was lying. It was because he was telling the truth. When they wanted to get rid of Matt Gaetz, they knew it was because Matt Gaetz was going to stand up to the speaker, and he was going to stop war funding. That's what they knew. They knew he was funded by small dollar donations. That's why they tried to make him out to be a pedophile, and they tried to discredit and slander him because they knew what Matt Gaetz was about to do. Just like what they just did to this Texas Attorney General. They tried to impeach him because they knew he was going to what? He was going to do this. He was going to He's going to file lawsuits against big tech for censorship. He was going to file lawsuits against the big pharma for misleading advertising. Wow. That's right. I forgot that. I'm glad you brought that up, Jackson. So again, I have to say that this doesn't say that the vaccine isn't safe and effective. All it says is that they were misleading in their advertising, and the Texas Attorney General's not putting up with misleading advertising and saying that they should have used the absolute risk and they should have informed you about the absolute risk. What they did was they gave you the relative risk, which was misleading according to the Texas Attorney General. Wow. Anything else you'd like to say, Kurt?
I think it's a pretty clever trick. The Supreme Court didn't think to protect them from false advertising, did they?
No, I don't think that they're protected from false advertising.
That's a straight up lie.
So I think if you get injured by a vaccine, they're protected from a lawsuit against that.
That's right, but not for what he's suing them for, which is really smart.
He's suing them not for people being injured by the vaccine.
Because it's a great vaccine.
Which it's a great vaccine, and that's rare. If it happens, it's rare. But he's suing them for false advertising. Brilliant. That is brilliant.
As soon as I heard he got impeached, then I'm like, oh, he's onto something. I mean, you say you watch that.
Yeah. Okay. Jackson, is that it for today? Anything else you want to say?
I'm going to be hosting George Galloway's Moats program tomorrow. So if you guys want to check that out, you can.
Oh, what time is that?
I think like 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 or 3 p.m. Eastern. So
you don't know for sure.
You can find me on Rumble. The Dive with Jackson on Rumble.
Oh, Jackson is on Rumble, and he's just doing live streams now. He's not even cutting up his show anymore.
Look at that.
Look at that.
I like that.
Okay, and everybody, of course, you can find him on Twitter, but everybody already has already.
Yeah, don't find him on Twitter. He has enough in life. His hair.
He has his hair.
He can have any chubby Englishman he wants. any chubby media pepper pot of a man.
Ooh, Jackson.
You're talking garbage spewing from your mouth onto my face and hair. Excuse me.
Name names.
You are rustling up my jimmies.
I'm going to have to go in the gimp chest after this. He's jungled up my blood.
All right, Jackson, thanks for sitting in with us. It was great seeing you. Congrats on your success on Twitter. And we'll see you December 30th here in Los Angeles, Studio City, for our live panel show with Kurt and Jackson and surprise guests. Okay,
Looking forward to it.
Take care, pal. Tell Miss Russia hello. We're doing live comedy shows in Oxnard, California, Venice, California, Palmdale, California, Omaha, Nebraska, Des Moines, Milwaukee, Lansing, Michigan, Bend, Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, and Boston. Plus, we're going to put a date in Edmonton, Canada, plus Vancouver. See ya. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.